Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? First of all, I would love your impressions of what, as a guy not only played quarterback in the NFL, played for the Vikings, as the photo right behind you there. The challenge for Joshua Dobbs being traded and in 5 days, literally going through cadences with his offensive lineman on the sideline. Can you put some context around just how improbable it is what Joshua Dobbs was able to do on Sunday, leading that comeback against Atlanta?
Yeah, it's not only improbable. At times, it almost feels impossible. And as good as like here in this city in Houston, how everybody feels about C.J. Stroud's game and the way he's playing, Matty.
Yeah.
I almost think that the biggest or the most wow factor performance of the weekend was Josh Dobbs on the way he played. And not only traded, and with those 5 days, you know darn well that you didn't get a lot of work. They're trying to get Jaron Hall ready, and then he gets hurt. I mean, every single thing you get traded and you're the starter for Arizona. And then you go there and it's like, well, okay, I'm going to have at least 2 weeks to get ready. Hall's trying to, cut his teeth and prove he can play. And then the concussion is like, dude, got to rely on you. That's why we brought you here. It's sooner than you thought, right?
Incredible.
To prepare like that, I saw my guy Jim Everett, obviously you guys know Jim and had a great career, said it is so hard to do that. And it is, because you're not only, once the ball's in your hand and you're physically going to make play, it becomes football. But trying to not only you're still stuck on the last verbiage, and now you're on new verbiage, and then you got new players, and you're short at wide receiver because Jefferson's not there, and then you're coming in and you're like trying to just say, okay, I got to get the center snap, I got to do it. I'm paying attention on the sidelines, talking to people. I've had a couple days. They had to give Hall a lot of work to get him ready because now the Vikings are 5-4, and they're in the damn hunt even without Kirk Cousins. So then all of a sudden you get in there, not only you're getting, I got to remember from the coach, the verbiage, get it to the line of scrimmage, and then I got to execute the damn play and understand coverage and what we're doing. I can't begin to tell you how not only difficult it is, but to the point of it's almost unfathomable. You could go and not only execute, but execute it really well. And I couldn't have been happier for him when he walked in that locker room and Kevin O'Connell, the guys were waiting on him and showering him with that praise. But you know what, Matty? I looked a little deeper into this. You think about Josh Dobbs' career now as a backup and been in the league a few years. In Cleveland, they trusted him, kept him around. He not for the long term, but they said, we got to have him on the roster in case. Then all of a sudden he goes to Tennessee. Malik Willis is there. He bypasses him, jumps him on a short period, and they start him last year. Mm-hmm. And then he goes to Arizona, and you're supposed to possibly start Clayton Tune. Kyler Murray's waiting. Joshua Dobbs comes in, plays pretty damn good football, and then you get rid of him because Minnesota needs somebody. And then the dude comes in and literally carries you on the back to get you a victory when you're down a receiver. The offensive line's done a hell of a job this year. You know what you're faced with your defense, and then you're trying not to prove too much because I know the feeling of coming off the bench, even when you're on a roster, you know what you want to do? You want to prove to your teammates they can trust you. So you're talking about swimming and trying to paddle around and get things done. Now, what Viking fans have to understand, give me the same energy when he struggles because it'll happen in the next couple weeks. He's going to run into somebody where it's not going to be the same result every week. But I thought it was actually the wow factor performance of the weekend considering where he's been. Matty, think about it. You go from one math class, you go from geometry to trigonometry literally in a couple days, and you're supposed to know all the formulas immediately and then execute it and pass the test. Yeah. Come on now. That's hard to do, which tells me the guy he's got great football IQ because you can't go from one to another and then go execute it. What a proud moment for him, and I couldn't have been happier for him. And that may end up saving the Vikings season at 5-4 with still a fighting chance now to be in competition in this division.
Now, the Saints are going up to Minnesota this week. And I would say, look, it's a different challenge with the Saints defense, but Sean, the Saints and the Falcons are allowing an identical 304 yards of offense per game. And the Saints are just 2 points better per game than Atlanta's defense. So they're actually, in reputation, maybe the Saints are better. But from what we've seen on the field, very comparable. But as you mentioned, we know Justin Jefferson is not going to play this week for Minnesota. The injury to Cam Akers, Hawkinson's battling an injury. How good can this Minnesota offense be realistically this week with New Orleans coming in?
On paper, Matty, it should mean, Madison's going to rush it. They're going to try to run the ball and give Josh Dobbs, what he throw? I think he threw it 30 times and completed 20 of them. Not for a lot of yards, but in this situation, Matty, all you're trying to do is make the simple play, right? Last week, just let me at least keep my team in it and let guys do work. The Saints defense should be better when we look at it than the Vikings offense. You're on your, a quarterback that's given you your third guy this year. You are without your star receiver. Dalvin Cook's no longer on the roster, so you're using 3 and 4 runners to try and get that production. The positive is he's going to be able to set his feet because most of the time, now maybe not against the Saints, but the offensive line has done a hell of a job, like I said. Going into this game, if you wouldn't have the spectacular performance from Dobbs, you'd think to yourself, Matty, very, very favorable matchup for the New Orleans Saints defensively. But now you got to say, okay, what are they going to do to expand the offense now? They were very efficient, and Dobbs made some plays with his feet too. Hell, I think he rushed for like 70 yards. So he's got that ability, and he did it in clutch moments. What I think you're going to see Kevin O'Connell do is similar to be efficient in the pass game, get Dobbs not just on broken plays, but initiate the run game with him to keep him honest, and then take more shots. I think you'll see them take more shots because another week of practice. Last week was get completions, run after the catch, be smart, and let's go into Atlanta and take care of our business. And I can guarantee you, and now maybe he'll refute it, but when Dobbs had to go in, you're thinking, okay, I got a guy, but it's so soon. What can I expect? Well, 30 throws later, you win a football game, and 70 yards from him rushing later. So I think you should expect an expansion of what they've done. You're not going to get the expansion when Cousins is there. So the passing game's not going to be like, oh, my gosh. So I think you can actually, Matty, play it smart, give him different looks. If it was me, I'd be giving him multiple looks defensively because while he's still learning the verbiage for his own team, you're hoping some team lines up and plays you base, right, in their base coverages and not giving you a lot of looks because you're already thinking about trying to get your stuff that you're trying to handle. And now you got to deal with them. Advantage Saints, I would expect a little come down to earth. But, Matty, we talked about this last week. I said, maybe I think it was you. It might have been on a different show. But somebody was it was in Minnesota. I told Minnesota, I said, he said, what are you getting from Josh Dobbs? They said, a physical kid who's got a good football IQ. This was knowing Jaron Hall was going to play.
Right.
That eventually what were you going to get from Dobbs? And I said, an efficient starter, but not a star. Well, last week he played like a star, even though the yards didn't say it. So if they get that same performance, they will be pleased. But I can guarantee you, if you give them multiple looks and pressure them, confusion may kick in, but they are going to take more shots because they already know what you guys are thinking is squeeze them. Can Dobbs do this back-to-back? Multiple looks I would expect from Dennis Allen and some pressures, but Dobbs has seen enough of this that he will handle it well, but I don't expect it to come as easy. And maybe it's sometimes that beginner like, damn, sometimes you're like, so it's like when you're sick, your mind's just saying, I just got to get through this game. In this one, you're just like, I just got to get out of the damn huddle. And then he went and executed it. Could have been more proud. Advantage Saints defense because of just the lack of practice time and the number of times that you get to see looks from a defense. And if I was New Orleans, I'd come out with some different stuff this week.
And Sean Salisbury is our guest. He's on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. But you know what's so interesting, though, Sean? There's this perception that the Saints offense is starting to catch its stride a little bit.
Right.
And you're going on the road against Minnesota with all of the shortcomings we just talked about, yet the Saints are a 2.5-point favorite. Like, you would think that it should be more heavily leaned toward New Orleans. So is it – are you sold on the Saints offense having turned the corner at this point?
I'm sold on them when I get the efficiency I got from Derek Carr, and you had one penalty overall as a team for 5 yards. I think, am I correct? Yeah. One penalty for 5 yards. And I'm pretty, guys, I thought I saw that. I'm watching the ball. They didn't throw many flags. They kept the quarterbacks clean. And when you don't hit him, Matty, we had this conversation. You don't hit him, he's going to destroy you. And he's accurate with the football. And they mix in the run and get a number of efficient runs and succeed on third down. So, yeah, I do think they're coming into their own, but just when we say that, we're like, oh, gosh dang, what happened here? The Vikings defense does not pose a ton of issues. And I mean, that's still a weakness of their team. The whole key to this game for me is the different looks for Dobbs, but for the New Orleans Saints offensively, to just make sure Carr gets good looks. He gets good looks because he's an accurate thrower. So, yeah, they are, but you look at the point spread and you say, Vegas, they know something. But I think a lot of it has to do with there's an energy in Minnesota. And for the first time in a long time, Maddie, that I can remember, Cousins out, Jefferson out, but that the Minnesota Vikings aren't relying on 2 or 3 dudes to carry them. They're actually playing more efficient football, knowing they don't have – we got to lean on Cousins. And he's been great all year. We got to lean on Jefferson. We got to lean on one guy. When Dalvin Cook was there, they're actually getting a lot of guys involved, and sometimes teams elevate when their stars aren't there. And the Vikings have done just that. And so it's a pretty impressive, but I don't see how the Vikings, if the line straight – now, one thing you're going to face, Matty, is pressures. And let me take you back to our conversation last week or 2 weeks ago, that if you hit him, Brian Flores is going to, I promise you, is going to say, we go hit Carr early, we may get a change up. We may steal a few interceptions or balls on the ground. So they're going to have to deal with pressure because Flores has no problem coming and getting you. Plus, when you blitz, sometimes you want to cover up some of your woes. He knows that if Carr sets his feet, New Orleans offense will continue to be good, but they are coming in their own. Do I trust them? Yes. Do I think that they're where they need to be that's going to get them when they get into January to sustain it? There's still a minute to get there. Last week's performance, protection, efficiency, that's a New Orleans Saints team that'll win the division.
It's incredible, man. Almost in spite of themselves. I mean, they
absolutely.
I mean, they keep catching breaks, Sean. I mean, you're not going to face Kirk Cousins. Instead, you're going to face Joshua Dobbs. I mean,
hey, guess what, Matty? But here's the ones that they can't think like you and I are, right?
Yeah.
Think, oh, we get Dobbs, not Cousins. Now you got to almost think like, man, Dobbs came in and did a good job and throw that respect on him. You can't let your mind settle into being casual. Relaxed is one thing. Casual is another. But, yeah, and you know what? There's those seasons when you can't catch a break. Take these breaks whenever you get a brother and hope that 3 other teams you play this year has got a second or third string quarterback coming to the party. That's for sure.
It's been that kind of year for New Orleans. I mean, quite literally the best quarterback they're going to face all year is Jared Goff. I mean, it's
right, and C.J. Stroud. Honestly, the way it's gone, right? Am I right?
But when they played him, Sean, you're thinking, all right, you're catching a rookie in week 3, week 2, 3, whatever it was.
Right.
I mean, you're thinking,
right.
You catch a rookie early in his career, and I mean, look at what geez, 470 yards.
With the number of quarterbacks we got in this league that are pretty damn good, you're right. You drew the proper straw. You didn't get the short straw when it came to drawing really top-notch quarterbacks. But you know what? Every now and again, guys catch fire, and Dobbs is capable of it. So I wouldn't take him for granted this week if I was the Saints.
Follow him on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. He is the one and only Sean Salisbury, good enough to join us every week. Sean, we always appreciate it, man. Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Matty, appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.